First ever job was newspaper route, and I remember saving up enough to go to Canadian Tire, and I bought a slingshot. And it is probably the most memorable investment I've ever made in my entire life, not just because you get to screw around with everybody, but because that was your first time working your ass off to earn something, and you bought it yourself, right? Like, and I came home and it was like a surprise to my mom, you know, like it was.
I bought a weapon.
I bought a weapon.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Basem Hanna podcast. Today, I got a special guest because I not only get an incredibly successful entrepreneur in Ben Osmow, but I also get another Coptic Christian Egyptian brother, which is nice. Every time we get to do one of these, I love it. So Ben, thank you so much for being on the show. Maybe before we get started, you can introduce yourself to the audience, what you do, and although I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Osmows is, but
I don't know about all that. Yeah, I don't think they all know.
Let's go with that. Yeah, what you do at the company and all that good stuff.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. And yeah, definitely excited to talk about our journey. For myself personally, I'll say my name is Ben Osmow. I'm the CEO of Osmows. It's a family business that we've got to grow quite a bit over the years. And it's something I've always been a part of, literally my whole life. So watching it grow from, just a small 800 square foot shawarma shop in Streetsville to now being right across North America with over 200 restaurants is pretty wild. So excited to talk about it.
Insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Okay, let's get like a breakdown or like a bit of a chronology, right? So Osmows started in what year?
2001.
In 2001, and it was started by your dad.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me the foundation story?
Yeah, foundation, and it's a pretty cool story.
It is.
So, long story short, my dad had a great job. He was actually in Kuwait originally, and in Egypt he was trying to get a good job, couldn't get a good job. But then he was realizing overall with raising kids, he didn't like the environment to raise kids in Egypt at that time. Mm-hmm. So he decided he wanted to start looking somewhere else in the world to go and open. And as Egyptians do, they found out where all the other Egyptians are.
Yes.
And they ended up in Mississauga, Ontario.
Like just straight.
Literally, yeah. You talk to someone who knows someone and you end up there because you know one person's cousin. Yeah. And it's pretty hilarious to think of. But so when he came to Canada, he had a really hard time getting a job in his industry. His resume was never accounted for. His degrees, his certifications, none of it counted even.
What did he do in Kuwait?
He was a business developer for really large organizations. So he literally traveled the world. I was actually born in the United States because he was there on a work trip and didn't want, me to be born while he was gone. But he traveled the world. He had a great job. And yeah, it was a massive kind of wake-up call when he came to Canada because he thought, no-brainer, he was going to get a job in his field, and he really couldn't. So he worked crazy jobs. Like he pumped gas at Petro-Canada for 2-3 years, and then finally got a job offer at a suit shop, helping people just pick out suits, which was a massive upgrade from pumping gas technically.
Right.
And then one day, an opportunity presented itself to buy out a submarine shop. And super random, but he was like, I'm this sub shop, they have good food, but they don't know how to do this.
This is like, in Streetsville.
This is in Streetsville, and he's like, I can put my business mind behind this and turn this around. And it was an uphill battle because this restaurant was doing like close to nothing in sales already. And after a lot of effort, he started getting sales picking up a little bit.
Making subs.
Yeah, he bought it as a sub shop. He wanted to run it as the business he bought it. He put all of his money into this business, right? And then, lo and behold, Subway and Quiznos both decide to open up in Streetsville. And we're talking a small town of Streetsville. Yeah. So sales dropped right away because at that point in time, you're a small business trying to compete with a $5 footlong.
Yeah.
It was close to impossible. And when sales went down, they went down. Like there was days where we remember doing like $47 a day where you couldn't even break $50 a day. And that was obviously very hard. There was so much stress around like whether or not the next mortgage payment we were going to be able to pull. He had to keep going with the bank and begging them to give like a second mortgage until we can get this business going. And my mom threatening, take the kids, going back to Egypt. We had a 10 times better life in Egypt. What are we even doing here? And it's kind of a fair argument. We look back now and it's kind of like, yeah, I could kind of agree with my mom. That's crazy.
Like on a completely tangential note, like Canada is a very hard place to come to initially. Like it bears fruit for the second generation, but like you think about the struggles our parents went through, it's insane. Like as you're saying your parents' story, I'm like, this is
similar.
Literally,
right?
like find and replace like your dad's name for my dad's name and like sub shop for like engineering firm and like we're there,
And that's like fluid across multiple cultures too, right? Like that's everybody. I agree though. I think it's like kind of easy to get into Canada for the most part, especially because they're massive land mass, but they're trying to grow the population so aggressively, but it's actually harder to make a name for yourself and to get buy-in. Now it's a bit better because your actual certifications and degrees are recognized. Back then that was never the case.
Not always still, like the medical degrees are not recognized, a lot of degrees, like all that stuff. Anyways, keep going.
There's a percentage of that, but I think like now it's a much better environment. I think when you're coming in, you could do a lot more than you were able to back then. But yeah, I mean, for us as a business, like the sub shop, once Quiznos and Subways opened up, everything kind of started going downhill in the business. And then a regular customer ended up going in when my dad was making himself lunch. He was talking to my dad like, oh, what are you making? My dad was telling him, oh, this is food from back home. Would you want to try it? The customer said, yes, tried it. And he was like, this is phenomenal. Like, Sam, you should add this to the menu. And my dad was like, had this like light bulb moment where he was like, maybe people from Canada would be willing to give shawarma a try, right? And we're talking 2001.
Yeah, this is old school. This is like
shawarma's not popular then, right? Like shawarma's on the map here. You can rarely ever meet a Canadian without talking about shawarma being a part of their mix. So
anywhere in North America,
anywhere.
By the way.
Well, honestly, the U.S. is much further behind. And I'll say as a brand, we're very humble. We take full credit for this. Osmow's is a big part of the reason why shawarma is coast to coast across Canada, is a household name across Canada. Not even just, the Osmow's name, but shawarma as a product. I will genuinely say this. We're definitely a very humble company, but we were the first shawarma place that showed people you can go coast to coast, you can franchise, you can go big. And before that, everybody kind of looked at shawarma as, oh, I know that local shop down the street. There's a mom and pop shop down the street that I go to where there's, it doesn't have the best customer service, but the food slaps. But Osmow's really kind of showed a lot of people that this is something that should be in franchising. This is something that can carve out its own niche. And I think that's what we, did a good job of doing. So when we got to the point where we...
Hell yeah, bro. Get your flowers. You deserve them.
No, man. Honestly, that's the one thing we definitely won't be humble about. It's true, man. I love the franchise
see how much
landscape.
You guys do like on the marketing side and like, some of it is obviously Osmo specific, but like you said, you're growing the pie. Like people are learning about a type of food that like, as Egyptians, Middle Easterns, we all know about, and it's like, oh, of course we know what shawarma is, but like you grew up or you moved from Poland. Like you might not have shawarma, like, doner might be your thing.
Well, also like, and you probably know this, when you look at like this genre of cuisine, we'll say around like Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and so on, depending on where you are in the world, it's actually considered junk food, right? If you go to Europe, doner kebab is not something you get before 2 a.m.
No.
Right? Like it's drunk food. Like you're going after the bar.
The store opens at 8 p.m.
So we fought hard to like get rid of that stigma and make it like that meal that you can get for corporate catering, have it become a part of your lunch mix and so on, and have customers walk in a suit and tie and they're dressed and so on. So that's always something that I think like when you look at Europe and they think of, if I explain to somebody in Europe what we are, they're like, oh yeah, I love that local doner shop. I go there after the bar every time. I'm like, well, we're not just that.
No.
We'll be there after the bar for you, but we're that place you'll get lunch for as well.
That's amazing. Okay, so he gets a recommendation to put it on the menu. I'm guessing the story goes that he put it on the menu.
That's when he scraped together whatever money he could. We did the full renovation as a family. I mean, my shoulders were killing because I had to my whole job the whole time was literally holding up drywall while my dad's bolting it in. So he's like literally watching do-it-yourself videos, learning how to do this stuff. We did the full renovation ourselves within the family, reopened as Osmow's, and nothing. Like we had no business whatsoever. People were like, what the hell is shawarma? Which is a fair question. So what my dad decided to start doing after like a year and a half of all that not working out also, no way to pay off bills and mortgage through this new business that he thought would take off. He was so heavily committed and invested into this that when the local festival happened, the Bread and Honey Festival happened in Streetsville that year at the parade, he's like, here's what we're gonna do this year. I'm gonna make a ton of shawarmas and you guys are gonna go hand them out with a menu. Give everybody a sample and a menu.
Yeah.
He was so determined that this food slapped.
Yeah.
People would like it if they just tried it. They don't know what a shawarma is. They're used to burgers and subs and pizza, but they're not used to shawarma. So if they just took a bite, they'd likely give it a chance. And that's exactly what happened. So we went out and handed out samples up and down the street.
You and Bernadette.
Myself, Bernadette, my oldest sister, Sylvia, my mom.
I didn't know you had a
we had we have an older sister as well. She's not in the business, but she's definitely a part of the story. So we all would like go and hand out samples as much as possible to everybody and a menu that showed people the address. Here's where we are, so on. That weekend, Bread and Honey weekend, we killed it sales-wise.
Yeah.
And it is quite literally the turning point for the brand because after that, word of mouth spread. Everybody that tried it went out and got the full-size meal.
Yeah.
And then they told their friends and family and everybody wanted to introduce themselves to Osmow. So it became this spot that people were driving to from 45 minutes away, an hour away. And at that time, we would have on average about an hour wait times.
Bro, I lived through this. Like I lived at Aaron Center. Like I know that Osmow's lineup for the Streetsville store, like back in the day. It was like, you put an order in and then like you go run your errands and you come back and you get your food.
It was crazy. We'd literally have people like call and place an order for 4 hours later.
Yeah.
And that's if we could answer our phone, right? It would be so busy in there all the time.
And it's tight. It's a very small
tight, 800
space,
square feet. Yeah. And actually, like that location's got so many stories, man. If you know anybody that knows the Osmow's brand well, they probably have some sort of a connection with that brand from way back when, right? Like people driving in from London to go get Osmow's.
I'll tell you, my buddy and I were getting Osmow's, and I got the phone call from Health Canada that said that we were getting inside that Streetsville location that we were going to be approved to be a licensed producer of cannabis. That was a life-changing moment in my life, and it happened at that store. I'm telling you, everybody's always a story. Everybody's got a story, bro. Eating a large shawarma, yeah, let's go, yeah.
It's crazy, man. But that location, so that location, we're actually turning it into a bit of a museum. So it's still going to be a long-standing.
Do you own that place now?
We do, yeah. And it's going to be our own like location. So we're getting a nice mural done on the outside that'll actually be done tomorrow. And we're going to go back to original pricing at that location, original menu. We're getting rid of the digital menu board. So
no way.
Location, it just means so much to us as a brand, like especially considering what it started.
But better wait times.
Oh man, it's different.
You should actually bring back the old wait times.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta wait an hour, bro. I can't help you.
You got pre-order, yeah. But
I like the original pricing. That's you're gonna have lineups out the door.
You know what? I think so. What we want is for people to get that experience as well.
So it's like a $5 shawarma.
$5 shawarma, literally.
Yeah.
So we're going back to original pricing.
That's hilarious.
And then we're gonna have a bunch of pictures and everything up on the wall.
And the king size with the pop and the fries.
Everything. Yeah. Literally original menu, man. So none of even our new menu items won't be on that menu.
Oh, I love that, bro.
Yeah.
I might go back to that.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's cool. But it's how it started, right? And as a brand, I think it's always like, how humble can you be in terms of recognizing what got you to where you are?
I love that.
Because it's not necessarily going to be like, for us now, we're 200 restaurants plus. That's not going to be necessarily the same strategy that takes us to call it 500 restaurants, 1,000 restaurants. I
want to get to that.
They're two different sets entirely where we want to recognize where it started.
First store, amazing, like success, still very much a small business. What clicks or what happens to take it from 1 to 200?
Yeah. So first and foremost, like it was all friends and family franchising. We opened up 3 locations ourselves as a family. And then we started doing like, call it some distant uncles that aren't officially uncles that would open up a restaurant. And then we started having a bunch of customers that were asking to open up a franchise. So we did that a little bit. We started dabbling. We would usually open them up ourselves, spend the time in there, even if it was with a franchise partner, because we didn't have the best training system. We didn't know what we were doing until we did it.
Right.
So everything was on the fly. Everything was trying to figure out how to do this, how to do that.
But how did you even who taught you the infrastructure of franchising? Because that's not, that's foreign to me. And I'm like, I have a decent understanding of business, but I couldn't tell you how to franchise a business right now. How'd you learn that?
So I will say, for any immigrant family, your parents went to that country so that you can become smarter and better than they even were.
100%.
Right? And at one point in time, Bernadette and my dad were both working at Osmow's HQ, which, by the way, was no HQ. There was 4 people in office, you know, including the accountants. You know what I mean? Like, there was
HQ
4 people.
is actually the house.
Yeah, it was literally like, you know. But when there was that point in time where I got a call. I just finished doing my MBA. I got a job downtown Toronto. I wanted to stay away from the family business for a little bit. And I was enjoying working downtown. I was making good money doing some business development. And then Bernadette and my dad both gave me a call. And they were like, hey, people are really asking about this franchising thing and franchising a lot more. Like, it's time for you to come back.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bernadette, I've always known, like, her and I work really, really well together. Like, you know, we just mesh really well. My dad, as a super prideful Egyptian, if my dad's asking me to, okay, stop messing around, quit, come back, that's when that means like, okay, let's go. I need your help in this. You go focus on this exactly, get it done for the company.
Like asking for help is like, oh man, it's huge.
I love my dad to death. We've probably said I love you to each other twice. Throughout life, you know, it's like that. Like, my dad was a businessman. Like, he worked all day, every day in the restaurant. He was a grinder. So if my dad asked for something, you know, he means it. Like, because he's the type of guy, he'll go do everything himself just not to ask for help. But yeah, he pretty much asked me, him and Bernadette both asked me, come figure out franchising. So I literally started networking like crazy. I started reading. I've bought whatever books I can about franchising. I reached out to people in the industry, left, right, and center. So I went on LinkedIn, found franchising manager, franchising coordinator, director of franchising, message all of them, can I take you out for lunch? Can I take you out for a coffee? And to my surprise, a few of them said yes. So I started taking them out, and these are people from various different companies, different levels. Some of them were just 10, 15 restaurants, 20 restaurants, whatever the case is. Started taking them out and building a bit of a connection with them and asking them questions like, hey, we're trying to do this as a brand. Like, what would you recommend? How do you get started? So on. And then some of them were gracious enough to even give us some contacts. So here's the law firm that we use. This is the first thing you need, a strong FDD and franchise agreement and so on. So spared no expense, said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. So connected with a great franchise law firm in the industry, partnered with them, built our own first franchise disclosure document. Pardon me? We worked with Soto's. We worked with Soto's LLP at the beginning. We had a great relationship with them. They helped us build our first ever FDD and franchise agreement.
What's FDD, Sam?
Franchise disclosure document.
Okay.
So disclosing all your new franchisees that are coming in, you literally lay out everything. And for anybody that's trying to get into franchising, I would definitely say take a look at the FDD, because the FDD tells you everything about the brand. If they've ever had any lawsuits or bankruptcies or whatever the case is. And I think it's too often people invest into brands without really looking at like how well they're actually run. Do they close down locations left, right, and center? Because, you know, in our history, we've never closed down a restaurant. Right? And that's something we're very proud of. It's super rare in the franchising industry, because usually a lot of brands want to brag about their sales. But what they do is they cut off all the bad apples along the way. They close down any location instead of investing to try to figure out how to grow it and develop it and figure out what's not going right and so on. So
So you get the contacts, like you build, you become an expert in like the franchising. You're not the CEO yet, right? Like what?
At that point in time?
Yeah.
At that point in time, no. I was actually...
Bob was the CEO.
Bob was the CEO. And although we didn't really have official titles like that, my title at that point in time was technically director of franchising. And this is the super funny thing when it comes to family businesses. It's like, we were literally sitting there running everything, and you know, Bernadette, my dad, and I sat down at one point in time, and we're like, okay, we need to really talk about these titles. You know, like that's the funny thing in family business. Like you're never gonna get like promoted. You know, you're never gonna get like, hey,
just do more work.
Here's an additional bonus. It's like, you know, it's just so it just came a point in time where it's like, okay, look, I think we've all done a really good job as a family. We've all found our niche. You know, and my niche has been kind of establishing some of the foundational steps that we didn't have before, like operations. We didn't have a district management team. So I technically became one of our first district managers. I hired our first district manager, hired a trainer that literally just did a full copy and paste, learned from my dad directly what is what within the restaurant, what is exactly the build for the chicken shawarma, the rotisseries, the everything within the restaurant, and then go from there. So although every single one of us had our own specialties, like mine was kind of setting up like the foundational pillars, and I enjoyed that quite a lot, right? Like I said, I was like studying it. I was connecting with other brands left, right, and center. When I took somebody out for coffee once, I took him out again, and I was like, let's keep talking, and I always developed this philosophy where it's like every meeting you go to has one piece of information that's super valuable to you.
Totally.
Even when you're interviewing somebody, you know in the first 2-3 minutes sometimes that's not the right person for the job.
Yeah.
But there's something out of that meeting that you can take away as an action item for you. So that's one thing that kind of really helped me.
That's good. That's a good mentality to have going into these things, going into anything actually, because you're open-minded instead of closed-minded.
100%. And even to this day, by the way, like that never changes. Like, excuse my French, but you become a douchebag if you think you've done well for yourself and there's nothing in it for you, and what a waste of time that meeting is for me, and so on. It's like,
that's usually when you start to go.
That is exactly
down,
when
right?
you change the mindset. That actually was that, like, that drive, that fire in your belly that got you to where you are. When you change that mindset, that is not just your plateau, that's your decline, that's your demise.
That's your detriment.
Exactly, So I always want to make sure we keep that mentality, and I think like the biggest compliment we get as a brand to this day is that you guys are insanely humble, nobody would ever know, etc., because that should never change.
To that humility, I always paid attention, like just like as a, a member of the community, admirer. I'm like, yo, they must have like 10, 15 stores. These guys are crushing it. And then somebody's like, bro, they have like 100 stores.
Yeah.
I'm like, 100? I'm like, no way. And then you go on the website, you're like, oh, they have 100. And then very recently it's like 200. And I'm like, you guys have built, like, I'm happy to be corrected, but I believe you have the most successful business inside the Coptic community from the Canadian generation. Like, I can't think of somebody that's like, even from like top line revenue or whatever it is, like whatever metric you're going to use to measure, help me think of one that does better than you guys.
Yeah, that's interesting. Honestly, you know what? There's so many different, like, I'd say within the restaurant industry, for sure. Within food and beverage, I'd say so. But there's so much success within the Coptic community. Like there's so many like big pharmacists that own 400 plus pharmacies and so on, and we've met a lot of them over the years, and like it's super exciting.
I don't know anybody that owns 400, but I
do. Yeah,
you
I
do.
I met one that owns 400. They moved to Florida to get away from taxes, like everybody else in Canada.
Standard protocol.
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of what you have to do, I guess, at some point in time. But no, it's awesome, man. There's lots of successful Egyptians, lots of successful Coptics.
But like from like. It's like a movie. Like you guys, like the immigrant family comes in, they do, like the family comes together, the first restaurant almost goes broke, like one last ditch effort. And the best part about your story is that it's still you guys running this thing. Yeah. Right? Like you found a way to evolve yourselves into a very fast-paced, cutthroat, low-ish margin business. Like food isn't crazy high margin, right?
Yeah,
like
very low margin.
Yeah, so like it's volume, and volume requires precision. So like all of that happening, and you're growing up. Like how old were you when your dad started this?
Started it, I was 9.
Like
so super young. Yeah, I was legally working.
This is your fourth sibling.
Yeah. I was illegally working as a cashier at 9, but we were all pretty young technically when it started. But yeah, like I said, it's that true immigrant story. Like I grew up, I don't know about you, but like my friend group, some of my friends, their parents, I'm not saying they were rich, but they had money. Like there was things that were foreign to me, like on Easter.
The pharmacists.
They're like on Easter, like they were getting cash in envelopes on Easter. I was like getting a Kinder Bueno. Like there was people around me that were growing up with money, so I was like, that's very different. So I always saw how hard my dad worked, and I never wanted to ask my dad or mom for like money for something stupid, something that I would consider stupid. Like, when you hear like your friends want to go and grab like whatever, an electric scooter that's $700, like I would never in a million years think to ask my parents for that.
I think our households were very similar in that my parents didn't achieve the success that they didn't achieve really any real success until I was like probably 16, 17. By the time my mom got relicensed and my dad got relicensed to talk about all like the like stuff that immigrants have to go through. And to the Easter point, I remember everybody used to get new clothes for Easter, and they'd be nice. Like you get like the Tommy Hilfiger shirt or whatever it is, like And I distinctly remember one time going to ask my parents, I'm like, we went to like the Bay or whatever, and I'm like, Dad, like I want this shirt. And he looked at the price and he's just like,
not a
like,
chance,
no, buddy.
yeah.
Like,
not
no.
a chance, yeah.
Like, let's go to Sears clearance.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, like.
But it instills that like drive in you, right? So like you know that, and you know that would technically be a struggle for your parents to like have to pay that off.
And it's hard for them to say no.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And they would say yes to you. That's why you don't ask.
He bought me
that's
that
what drives
shirt.
the
He
humility.
actually bought me that shirt, but
There you go.
inside I knew I was doing something like not wrong, but like.
You were reaching. You felt like you were reaching a little bit.
I put strain. I put unnecessary strain on my parents.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I don't care
like,
about the shirt.
That's when you know you're raised right, when you have that humility.
Yeah.
Right, like enough to know that hey, my parents aren't in the best position. They're doing their best. They're working their asses off, and I don't want to cause additional strain on them. So even having that mindset says you were raised right.
Well, thank you. So obviously, so were you.
No, I think that's huge.
It's also our community.
I hope to God
man.
our future children and so on grow up the same way. Because that's so important, right? Like regardless of what kind of upbringing you had, you realize that like there's somebody out there that is struggling, and you are meant to kind of contribute and provide more and more in your own way, not be an additional strain on anybody else.
I like, yes, 100%. Like you said it very well. What I take away from that, or I guess maybe my next question is, you're in a very slightly different position, but like something that I see my kids, like you said you were 9 when your dad started his business.
Yeah.
My eldest son, Alex, is 10 now. And I think about, I'm like, okay, I'm building a real estate business. I built the cannabis business, that was great, but like we're building a real estate business now, and we're gonna hopefully become landlords, like large scale landlords over time. Yeah. What did your dad or your parents do that kept you interested enough in the business to want to be involved, but also hungry enough, right? Like, cause and like even for you and like your kids, like, how are you going to motivate them the way that we were motivated out of necessity? Yeah. We had no money and we watched our parents struggle, right? Yeah. You're not in that position anymore, and neither am I. So like, what do you think you have to do differently, or like what is that formula? And I'm asking this as an honest question for me.
No, honestly, I'll be the first to say I don't know exactly what that formula is. I don't think anybody knows exactly, because this is going to be the upbringing, like you said, we grew up in is out of necessity versus out of choice. Yeah. We have to find a way. You can choose to give your kids everything in the world, but you need to have them grow up with that same level of humility, that they still have the fire in their belly to go out and get it, but also appreciate how blessed they are in comparison, because it's a different circumstance. And I think about this all the time. In my friend group growing up, like, definitely one of the friends that technically grew up with, call it like, not as well off as some of the other families and so on. So for me, I always had that drive because I didn't want to add the additional strain, but I also wanted to have the same lifestyle. If my friends were going on a trip, like it was $700 to go on a round trip to Cuba. I was saying, no to some of these trips, but I really wanted to go. So I wanted to get to a point where I can actually do that without causing stress on the family. And literally one of the funniest things, and it's like a quick story, but I was working at Osmow's, and we had this all-star team. Friday, Saturday night, we had this all-star team. And literally it was pretty much like 7 Egyptian guys, this one Canadian guy that was this all-star, and we just like pumped out sales. Friday, Saturday nights, we would do an insane amount of orders. Over 1,000 shawarmas on a Friday and Saturday night. We would pump out sales out of 800 square feet. But I remember we got to a point where my friends are now, I'm in high school. My friends are going to high school parties. Right. Friday, Saturday night, and I'm like, telling my dad, I was like, hey dad, like I think we need to find somebody else to work Friday, Saturday. Like I want to start going to the movies with my friends. I want to go to like a high school party. And my dad's like, you don't want to work Friday, Saturday night? Then you're fired. Literally fired me at like, I think I was like 15, maybe 16 years old or something like that.
That's so good.
And I remember just being like so livid, because I was like, I'm not telling you that I'm not interested in working. I'm saying as a kid, I want to also enjoy my upbringing and so on, like I want to hang out with my friends, go to the movies, so on.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And honestly, that is probably the biggest turning point for me. It was so funny, but it was just like such a small thing. I became so prideful. in like proving my dad wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that like he was wrong to fire me because I am like, you know, in my mind at least I was like great within the company. I was an all-star within the restaurant. Sorry, I keep saying company. It was the restaurant, literally individual. And that just kind of created this whirlwind of me starting new companies. So I think at that age, my friend and I started a landscaping company where we started doing landscaping in people's backyards, mowing their lawns, trimming hedges, etc. Winter came around, shoveling snow, but trying to like really shovel snow as much as possible, making as much money. And then from there, going into university, started a decks and fences company. And I was like, at that point in time, I'm 18 years old. I just got my license, so I was able to buy a truck off of Kijiji for $800 to put the wood in the back, and we were building decks and fences, paying my friends like $22 an hour at that point in time, which was huge,
big,
and making really good money. And then go into the school year, started a moving company. My other buddy and I started a moving company where we were literally moving people in and out of their houses, getting paid good money.
Are you doing this work yourself?
Yeah. Oh, literally like doing the work. Like call it like the lead on every single job and so on. We didn't have teams, right? It was just one team. But I'm just bringing in guys, asking like people that have never done this job, hey, do you want to come work with me? Because I'm new to it as well. Why not? And it was all stuff that was pretty self-explanatory. Like the decks and fences company, I was actually working for a guy. I got the job on Kijiji. And then at some point in time, he started sending me to jobs on my own. And I was like, why am I making $11 an hour when I can just start my own thing and get friends and teach them along the way? So I guess it just like creates this drive in you, and that's kind of what I want for my future kids. I want them to have the drive, because I agree with you in saying that I don't think my kids are going to grow up ever knowing that struggle, but I hope to God they never need to know that struggle to still have that same fire in their belly, because they're motivated to build their own name. And for me, always, and it's the reason why I didn't want to go straight into the family business, even though it was a handful of restaurants, it was nothing that was actually like successful enough for one to inherit and say this was worth, you know, what it is today. I always just wanted to kind of like build my own name and my own reputation. And I kind of wanted to prove to my dad that I can be great in business. I can make it on my own.
Yeah, you got your rite of passage, right?
Exactly. And I think if you have your kids have that same drive, where they say like, hey, look, handouts sure are cool, but you'll never appreciate something more than something you bought for yourself for the first, and your kid is 10 years old. When my newspaper route was like my first ever job, right? First ever job was newspaper route. And I remember saving up enough to go to Canadian Tire, and I bought a slingshot. And it is probably the most memorable investment I've ever made in my entire life. Not just because you get to screw around with everybody, but because that was your first time working your ass off to earn something, and you bought it yourself. Right, like, and I came home and it was like a surprise to my mom. You know, like it was.
I bought a weapon,
and she's like, "What the hell are you gonna do with that?" I was like, "Just shoot pop cans in the backyard, I hope." But it's just like I think any kid should have that same drive where they want to buy their own
and then
anything.
Like, when did you get? At what point did you get back in? Like, what store count or whatever?
So, from then we opened up our fourth restaurant in Milton. We had a franchisee that actually failed training. We got all the red flags that they were not going to be a good franchisee, and we talked about it as a family, decided that wasn't the right call, so we opened it up ourselves. So I went to actually open that one up to help out with the families.
You're not worried, this is just like part-time, you still have your job?
No, at this point in time, I was actually running it full-time throughout the summer, but I was like, that's all I can do is the summer.
Right.
So we did that until we got a franchisee to go in there and run the business. So ran it that way. After that, I went to university. I did my MBA, came back. I was working downtown for like a year and a half, and that's when I got the call from Bernadette and my dad to come like kind of join full time.
Okay.
And at that point in time, we were like, I think 15 restaurants.
Wow.
4 of them were ours within the family. The rest were franchised within friends and family, we'll say.
Okay, I have 2 very separate lines of questioning.
All right.
We'll go with the op stuff first. On the marketing side, you guys are pretty epic, right? Like, you guys have Super Bowl ads, which is, I think, a very cool bragging right. You've worked with a lot of the people at MLSC, like whether they're Raptors players or you do a lot with the Raptors. I don't know if you do anything with the Leafs, but like, you're really out there. is it hard to justify the spend inside your own organization? Because I'm guessing these things aren't cheap.
They're not, but I think one of the best things in the world is like having your own business that you could choose to do whatever you want with it. And if you're close enough to the ground, if you're close enough to know like the different aspects, like what does it mean to our restaurants, what does it mean to our franchise partners, so on, it becomes pretty easy for you to make a decision that is a bit riskier.
Right.
So I'll tell you like where it kind of started. And at this point in time, it was like marketing was Bernadette and I, and she was focused on it a lot more. We did a ton of bus ads and everything like that.
I remember that.
So 2019 comes around. I'm definitely a diehard Raptors fan. They're looking like they're putting together a pretty solid team. And Bernadette and I started talking, and we were like, how crazy would it be to partner with the Raptors? And she's like, do you think they're going to go like far this year? I was like, I think they're going to go really far.
Yeah.
Because they just signed Kawhi.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things you kind of had to jump on this opportunity. Bernadette actually went out and she found the agent. She found somebody that can connect us with like an agent to a couple of the Raptors players. And we're sitting there thinking like, is this crazy or is this something we can actually do? And it was like, we started putting together some of the numbers. And again, we're no real finance team at this point in time. So we're literally doing all this ourselves, call it napkin math. And we're like, okay, we're 50 odd restaurants right now. We think we can do a commercial. We'll do it in-house. We'll keep it super cheap. So the guy, and I give him credit, his name's Adil. We still work with him to this day. The guy that was shooting our videos for Chicken on the Rocks and Chicken on Shawarma, we reached out and we're like, hey, do you think you could do a TV commercial? And he was like, yeah, I could definitely do a TV commercial. Yeah, that would be no problem. What do you have in mind? And we're talking to 2 different Raptors players right now. And he was like, holy shit, you guys are talking to a Raptors player? We're like, yeah, and we're thinking we can actually make this happen.
Yeah.
So we ended up finding a way to make it work. And the general rule of thumb is in franchising, everybody pays a royalties. And in that royalty is a percentage for marketing and advertising. We probably took that original percentage for marketing and advertising, and we said, okay, corporately, we're going to quadruple it. That's what it's going to cost to do this thing. But again, we're not publicly traded. We don't have shareholders. We don't have people we need to appease. We're like, let's go all out and put the world on notice, put the country on notice, right? So we ended up officially signing off the paperwork. We signed with 2 Raptors players coming off the bench, which was a much better price point than we'd ever thought.
Who?
Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell. Right away, they were both players we knew that were coming off the bench. They had like this electricity to them that like kind of caused that spark. And they were also like the up and comers, which we looked at ourselves as also being the up and comers. We weren't going to be able to afford like a Lowry or a Kawhi or so on at that point in time.
I don't think Kawhi did a single ad in Canada while he was here.
He was in and
won
out,
championship and bounced.
He came for the ring. He left. Yeah, but after that, we pretty much did it. We shot 3 commercials in 4 hours, because for us to get it cheap enough, we literally had to negotiate with the players for them to be in and out in 4 hours.
Okay.
We shot 3 TV commercials in 4 hours.
That's amazing.
On a $15,000 budget. Insanely low. Wow. Insanely low. You ask anybody from the industry, they're like, that's impossible. Did you shoot that on a Motorola Razr?
I can't even shoot 2 podcasts in 4 hours. Yeah.
No, it's actually wild. And we ended up doing this and putting this somewhat low quality, especially for the time, commercial out on television. And the Raptors started doing really well. And sure enough, the first time the TV commercial ever airs, Norman Powell drops his career high 33 points.
Come on.
First time it ever aired. Next game, Freddie puts up like 6 3-pointers, especially when it matters for them to win the game. So it's like this orchestra that's kind of synchronizing, playing together, everything, like all the stars were aligning. And the problem was they started going further and further. And if you guys don't know how TV and broadcast works, the more you air is the more you pay. You pay per spot.
Right.
So every single time you're paying for a spot. So now the Raptors are going to the next round. We didn't expect that. Okay, we knew they were going to be good. We didn't think they were going to.
Did you get like a roofer to like keep your spot, I guess?
No, it's like a media buy all at once. So you buy for like X number of spots per round.
Okay.
So you could do it ahead of time. You could try to do it on the spot if you're able to.
Right.
So we expected, and I told Bernadette, I think they'll go to the conference finals.
Yeah.
I didn't expect for them to go all the way to the championship. but they did. And we had a decision to make if we wanted to air our commercial during the NBA Finals, which is not something we had in the cards, and it's not something we had any budget for, but we literally took it out of a loan to do it. Right? This wasn't, now we're not even just talking about the marketing budget.
We can bleep it out if you don't want. What does that cost?
At that point in time, and it's significantly more expensive to do now, especially when like the only Canadian NBA team was in it.
Yeah.
But you're talking about an average of like almost $80,000, $90,000 per 15-second commercial.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
so
like,
it was crazy.
Spend.
So
100 G's.
Yeah. So it was actually crazy, but we ended up saying like, you know what, like, let's do this.
Yeah,
let's do this. Yeah. The Raptors made it all the way here. Like our big bet investment is kind of paying off. The month of May for us on Google, we had 430,000 searches of what is Osmow's near me. So our sales went up like crazy. The awareness around the brand went up like crazy.
Yeah.
If you ask anybody about like what they know about Osmow's, they'll probably talk to you about that 2019 Raptors campaign. Why? The only television commercials that were airing during the NBA Finals were like Visa, like BMO Bank, and Osmow's.
Yeah.
There was like literally 3 or 4 commercials airing, and they came back and told us, you guys are the smallest company to ever advertise in the NBA Finals by far. It's not even close. There's nobody that has your budget technically that's doing this.
Egyptians, bro.
It was like crazy. It's like we literally broke every rule of marketing ever. But man, it was so worthwhile, and it was like incredible to do. And I hope to God we have another 1 or 2 of those opportunities, because that's literally all you need in life is like 2 to 3 of those, and you're blessed. You're good.
That is amazing. Obviously puts a big smile on my face to like hear the success and the inner workings. My next line of questioning is more like business entrepreneurial stuff. Are you guys still wholly owned? Like you guys still own everything?
100%, yeah.
I have to believe that private equity's knocked on your door once or 100 times.
Yeah, 100 times is more accurate for sure. Yeah, no, we've definitely, you know what, like the funny thing is,
like what's the plan?
For like the Arabic, for the culture.
Yeah.
For the culture, we'll say, we built out the biggest brand. We've built out the biggest shawarma brand that there is globally. Not even anywhere in the Middle East is there a shawarma brand that's this large. And we got some of the biggest grocers, and I can't say who because you sign NDAs on this type of stuff, but we have some of the biggest grocery stores in North America asking us to build out the Middle Eastern category within their grocery stores. Nowadays, when you go into grocery stores, you'll see a lot more Middle Eastern product. Back then, they were actually asking us to build that out.
Right.
So Osmow's branded pita bags, Osmow's branded hummus, Osmow's branded shawarma kits, and so on. So they were asking us to do a lot of this stuff. And yeah, we built out this niche brand, right? Like in the world of franchising, like I said, there was burgers, subs, pizza, there was Asian, there was Indian, there was everything, but there wasn't a shawarma brand that was ever considered in the franchising space.
Right.
And that's what we got to build out. And now there's a lot of big private equity. There's a lot of food brands that are looking to say, I want a piece of that pie, right? I want a piece of that shawarma, and say, we can build this out even larger and buy in at the right time.
Okay, I'm gonna ask some questions, and you can say I don't want to answer if you don't want. What do you think the company is worth right now?
Yeah, so I wouldn't put this out there.
Give a range, if you can.
Okay. I'd say like a approximate valuation of the company would be just like north of probably 100 million at this point. Annual sales.
Let's go! Let's go!
It's crazy because
first nine-figure business.
Well, the crazy thing about that is like when you have a business that you're so heavily invested into, like you don't necessarily see the fruits of all that, right? Like technically, that's a huge number, but like we don't experience that on a daily basis because that number.
You're talking about that's the value of the parent.
Yeah,
not the franchisees, and like that's
the overall value of the actual structure of the company.
If you were going to transact, it would be on your family. That's your family's thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
God bless, bro.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. No, the company, like we're at a point now where it does, and this number I have no problem sharing because this is franchise revenue and so on. These are the actual. This year, our goal is to hit north of 270 million in sales as a company, which is huge. We have an amazing average unit sales. So our franchisees, and by the way, like if there's one thing I want to talk about, it's definitely like the franchising side of the business. Like we built a model where we took our franchisees and we helped them to grow. We took our best operators, the ones that did the best job. And for those that don't know, like franchising is difficult, man. Like especially with something like shawarma, it's not as heavily processed. It's not processed in comparison to some of the other foods. There's not a warming drawer that you open up, you grab a burger patty and you throw it on the bun and it's done. There's a lot more hand holding. There's a lot more like marination and so on that needs to be done. So franchising is difficult. So what we did is we took our best franchisees and we invested in them. We said, we'll finance you to open up your second, to open up your third. We have franchisees now that are up to 20 restaurants.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 20 restaurants, 21. We have a lot of groups that are in around that 10 location mark. So that was really like one of the biggest learnings for us as well, is that you can open up with 1 million different franchisees, which some of our competitors do, right? You accept 1 million different checks and you can get a lot of restaurants open and so on. Or you can take a bit of the longer haul, the more organic route, and you take your best operators and you grow with them. And it helps us a lot more, right? Like we've done a little bit of both, where we accepted new franchisees to be able to grow a bit faster, and we realized we weren't happy with that because the quality wasn't there.
Right.
And the reputation of the brand is going to go down if we have franchise operators. And I'm a big sports guy, so I always say it's like a sports analogy. Our franchisees are like players on our team, and the best players have to play. Yeah. So if we have a franchisee that's not contributing to the overall brand standard, which has happened in the past, we need to make ties. We need to cut ties.
Substitution.
Right? Like not just a substitute. We need to trade them to another team or whatever we need to do. You know,
but you don't close down locations, so you got to sub the franchisee for the location stays.
And we see it. We see it a lot. Like we see it a lot where there's the metric in the industry is same store sales. So year over year, same store sales, meaning the exact same location that was open now, what type of sales is it doing next year? So we see it where we have a bad operator. We work on an exit strategy with them. We talk to them. We try our best to get them where we need to be, give them support, training, put our own team in there with them to like help. And if they go back to their old tendencies, then we have to flip them out for a new franchise partner. And when we get the new franchisees in, or existing franchisees that had other Osmow restaurants and doing great, we see huge lifts where that restaurant will go up to 100% in that first year. And that just shows how differently.
So you know, it's not the product, it's the person, right? Like, yeah.
It's all about the product, but the person's going to be the one that executes the product.
They're your rep, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I could have this conversation for a long time, but just we're like, I want to think about like two follow-up questions. One, I want to end it off with like advice that you can give to others that see this and are inspired. But before that. What is next? Like, sure, your ever increasing franchise count for sure, right? Like, what is your next milestone goal? 500, I heard you mention. When do you think you'll reach that? Yeah.
So the goal is 500, hitting 500 restaurants. Today we're 203 restaurants. Goal is hitting 500 restaurants within the next 5 years. And we're actually doing this across North America. So in Canada, at this point in time, we open up about 35 restaurants a year. And, you know, very proud of being Egyptian, but also proud of being Canadian. Right. We have a ton of American brands that come into Canada and kill it. Chick-fil-A's and Shake Shack and so on. And they have huge lineups out the door, but it's so rare that you see a Canadian brand go into the US and do well. So it's also something that we're prideful of. We want to be a Canadian brand that goes into the US and does really well. So we started opening up a few locations corporately in the U.S. to make sure we iron out wrinkles before we take a franchisee investment. Because
that's good. That's actually very considerate, because like you're absorbing the biggest risk yourself.
100%. And there's so much learning in there, by the way. Like you open up in places like Florida and you're realizing it's a different customer base. The same way we have Quebec being a French-speaking part, Florida is almost 100% Spanish-speaking. So you learn so much when you're expanding across the U.S. And I love it more than anything else, because if anything, it makes me feel like we're a startup again. Right. We're a mom and pop shop that's trying to go out and meet new contacts and trying to go out and network and figure out how to put the name.
So have you opened up stores in the U.S. already?
Yeah, so we got 6 restaurants open in the U.S., another 6 opening up. So yeah, we're slowly building over there.
Those ones are all corporate.
No, the 6 new ones are going to be all franchised.
Okay.
But yeah, we're slowly building over there. We're in no rush, to be honest. Like we want to do it the right way. We want to build a strong foundation. We're not looking at the exit strategy, and the company might be worth a good chunk of money today, but like we really want to build this thing up and be, you know, have kind of like our people be proud of what we built.
It sounds like you're just getting started and you're not done, right?
Yeah, like 100%. There's so much runway out there, and we're excited for it.
And I guess maybe the last thing is like, you guys have such an amazing story, and you're a wealth of knowledge. Like, parting advice for the people that watch this. We get, like, most of the people that watch this are entrepreneurs or most likely Egyptian entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
Like, take a look at that camera and, like, what would you tell somebody that's starting out, just got here, or is in a franchise or something like that, where they're either really happy or not? You know, like, whatever, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay, biggest piece of advice I'd say that's like something that was instrumental in my growth as a call it businessman over the years has definitely been networking like crazy. Don't be afraid to ask everybody and their mother and father out for coffee, lunch, dinner, anything that you could do to pick their brain and learn from them and take something away. But I'd say for me on a personal side, the biggest change has definitely been having a great morning routine. Like, it sounds so silly and so...
Just like ice
yeah,
bath.
so it sounds so basic. Sounds so basic, but when you have a good morning routine, you literally do start off the day. And everybody always asks me the question, like, how the hell do you manage this? How do you manage all this? Like, how are you doing this? And it's just like, I feel like I'm calm every single morning. I have my consistent routine where you read a little bit. I take a lot of time for me as well, where, you know, like, I can read my book in the morning. I could have a coffee. My door is locked. Everybody knows you don't knock on my door before like 8:30 in the morning, because that's like my me time and so on. And I'm going through my part. I have segments and calendar blocks throughout the day to get back to emails. You know, to just check in on my team. I'll literally have 15-minute blocks in my calendar, just check in on these people, see if they need anything, give this person a call, and also, like, stay so close to the ground. So, like, one thing at Osmow is that's super different for us. Every single person in our office, I don't care if you're on the legal team, if you're on the accounting team, you go and you spend time, you work a shift in a restaurant, an entire shift in a restaurant, a bare minimum of once every 6 months.
I love that.
Yeah, so I don't care what level you are, you go, you work in the restaurant. And what happens with that, by the way, they come back and they're like, Ben, we need to change this right away. I talked to this franchise partner, this is what they're saying. This person showed me this sticker that does this. Yeah. Like, that's the silliest things. Like, there's stuff that's, most of it's like so small, but it's so instrumental into the change. And like, when I give advice to anybody, I'd say, don't care about a resume. Don't care about like anything else that like you would typically consider to be, this is how it was structured. This is generational. This is how it should be done. I don't believe in any of that. You can pave your own path. The biggest advice I'd always say is like, stay so close to it, to all of it. Don't be in a rush to hire somebody else to do your position here. Do it for as long as you possibly can by yourself, because you know nobody will have that drive that you do, and you can build that up to like new heights that have never been reached.
I mean, I want to end on that note, because I don't think I could say anything that would offer more value to the people listening to this. Ben, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure, man.
It's funny because I've known of you for a very long time. This is probably our first time meeting.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm really happy I got to know you.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't be a stranger. We're now connected. And I wish you guys nothing but all the success in the world. I cheer for you always. You know that. And yeah, keep crushing it, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. It's been such a pleasure.
You're a light in our community.
No, it's been such a pleasure, man. I love our community, and I love building something big within it. And hopefully we can make not just all Egyptians, but all Canadians in general proud of what Osmow is doing.
Hell yeah. Thank you, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, that's another episode of the Basem Hanna podcast. Thank you so much to Ben for being on the show. If you want to watch this or any of our other episodes, you can catch them on Spotify, YouTube, Apple. We're across all the platforms. Yeah, until next time, peace.